Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dave Flies RC and our Aeronaut Triple Thermic Glider build. Okay, so where we are, we left with the last episode with the sheeting on the top of the wing. So we decided we'd leave this for a couple of days to cure. So we're just going to remove all the clippies now and see how we ended up. So if you're new to this channel, thanks for dropping in to see how we're going, and if you've been continuing to watch the build, I hope you're enjoying it so far. Okay, so let's just take off these clippies and we'll see how our gluing went. So with this leading edge, we're still battling to work out how we're going to actually glue it. So we're going to try and use a mixture of CA, the thin CA for a fast bond, and the PVA glue. So we'll see how we end up. Right, so if you look along the back edge there, it all seems to be nice and straight, hasn't lifted in any spot. Have a look at the end there. We've still got to trim this, off here for our wingtip, but other than that, that seems to have seated pretty well. Okay, so let's get rid of this mess, and I think I'll leave them there for a bit. Now let's get on with the gluing. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just to glue this front edge down, and as you can see, it's under quite a lot of stress because we have to follow the leading edge. You can see we've got to bend quite a fair way down to get a nice fit onto the rib there. So we are under a bit of pressure there. So what I'm attempting to do, 5, 6, 7, 8, is start from the middle rib here, and we'll start by using the thin CA and then try and work a rib by rib each side and work our way down the length of the wing. So as I said before, we're going to try and use a mixture of glues here to try and figure this out. So what I'm going to do, once this glue goes thick in the, I'm going to use my little stick here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to try and get a little bit of PVA at the back of, underneath in the ribs. And this is going to be a pretty messy job, I think. But if we can get some nice PVA as well to help with the bonding, and then we'll clamp it with the thin CA. Actually, this is actually working all right. I thought this was going to be a little bit. Thought we were going to struggle a little bit more with this. Should have done it one at a time, but I think we was going to do one and one, as in one rib, one PVA glue, but I think, well, we've got it, the whole thing open. I think we'll keep on moving along. Okay, we also had a couple of packages arrived, and I'll show you them a little bit later in the piece. Obviously we've been trying to get this done, so we don't want to do too much at a time. But we had our servos arrive for our wing. So this has got 4 servos in the wing. So we have 2 servos, or 1 servo on each wingtip for the ailerons, and then we've installed what they call a diffuser, or it looks like a brake, on the inner wing root, which holds the wingtip. So it works like a handbrake in a car, basically, to slow the glider down. So we end up with 4 servos in the wing, 2 in each wing. So they are really small micro servos. Well, that was a nice easy one. Get a lot of glue into this one. This is where we'll struggle towards the end of the wing, where the sheet gets really small. I don't think we're going to be able to get much glue in, and I don't really want to. Yeah, that's about it. That's a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a shame we couldn't go much further than that. Okay, so we've got our thin CA, we've got our gloves on, and for some reason the lid on this CA always sticks. Okay, so here we are. We've got our thin CA as far as we can get into the ribs, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to start directly in the middle of the wing. So I think I'll spin that upside down. 1, 2, and I've just dropped the glue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to squeeze him right up. And then we're just going to drop a smidge of thin CA right on the tip there. We're just going to hold him nice and tight. Trouble is now I'm mixing the 2 glues. And like I said before, when this CA you put on too thickly, because it's so thin it runs, and then it takes a long time to adhere. So just give it a bit of a blow and hopefully it'll glue pretty quickly. And that is actually stuck quite well. So we're going to move along to the next, not so much next rib, but as far as where we can see that we can get a decent bond. Without the sheet going too far. So once we've gone down the length of this wing with the thin CA, I think I'll get out the thick CA and we will run a bead down top and bottom of the leading edge to glue both together. So hopefully that'll give us a nice strong bond. So I forgot where we are now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to there, and we can see there that we've got a bit of a gap there, so we will put a smidgey in keeps going towards the top. Let's keep going towards the top. So obviously we'll just keep on keeping on. So it was a bit windy and rainy today, so we couldn't go out and do any flying, but at the moment we're trying to, as we've just got our silver wings, we're just trying to get some hours under our belt, and I've yet to still get some footage of the field for you, so you can see a bit of flying instead of just building, because we're not just all about the building, but we also enjoy flying these models. So that's what we want to do, is build these models for you, and then actually see if they do fly once we finish building them. So this is actually coming together quite nicely. And I think we'll go back up the other side after this side. So as you can see in the background here, we are still working on the second wing tip. So we'll continue to do that in the background. Okay, and I'll get back down here. Okay, where are we here? Keep going, keep gluing the top. So once we've finished gluing this, then this is pretty much done. We've got the leading edge to glue on, which we'll glue onto these two sheets here, and then we sand it to form hopefully a nice peak, and that'll be it. But the aileron is pretty much finished. Let's just drop a. Oh, I can't see where I've glued now. Let's just drop a bead in here. Again, keep gluing the top sheet. So it's looking quite nice and straight, except for right here. It looks like I've pinched it. Oh no. Looks like I've pinched it a little bit tighter just there. So we'll go back up there again once this bit bonds here. Yep, okay. So I think we've squeezed it a little bit too tight here. You can see a little bit of just there. So it's starting to look quite good along this edge here. And like I said, once we're just pretty much tacking with the thin CA, and then we will run a bead of thick CA along the edge. I'm good at sticking my fingers together with this with this thin CA, because it does dry quite fast, which is why we're using it for this part. Otherwise we'd have to use all the clamps, which we probably will anyway once we've run the thicker bond down. Looks like we're starting to get a little bit of the PVA glue leaking out, and it looks like it's helping to seal and glue it up, so that's quite good. Okay, so it's starting to look quite a good, this edge is looking quite nice. This is where it seems to be a bit thicker down here. Okay, we'll leave that in for a bit. We'll flick over and go back to this end. Keep working our way down the wing. Oh, and I think we were in the second or third episode. We were working on the V-tail, and we were missing the what we call the surface area, which is what actually moves. We've got the V-tail frame, and it's like the rudder on the back. So we sent an email to Aeronaut saying that we had some parts missing in the box, and yesterday, which is probably 2 weeks later, a little package arrived, and they sent me out a new what they call a new tree. So with all the parts that we need to finish off the V-tail. So once we've got through the wings, we will get back onto the V-tail and we'll finish that bit off. So I was more than happy with that. So we're getting there, and also we'll show you a bit later. We had the motor has turned up as well. I'm just trying to work out where we'll fit that in, and we'll start working out how to install the engine. So that's quite exciting that we're starting to complete just about everything, most of the parts. So we're getting there. Alright, so slowly working our way down to the wingtip here. This is the end where we couldn't get any PVA in, so I'm probably going to go a bit heavier on the CA glue on this tip, because we couldn't actually get in there. Oops. Can't really. I'm just going to get off camera and just glue this end bit here. Nice, all right. We've actually got a couple of gaps here. Oh, that's a bit of a worry. Alright, so back to the thicker part of the wing again. Move our way back up this way. Oh, we've gone a bit off. Gone a bit off there. Right, so we're slowly getting there. This is the longer part, so it's a little bit, wood seems a little bit softer at this end. Maybe not. It's taking a little bit longer to bond because again I've gone a bit too heavy on the glue. Every time I go a little bit heavy, try to just put a little drop in, it just seems to pour out. Okay, that's done. Just a little bit along the top here again. It's always just a little bit, and you think, oh, it's just a little, enough, and then out it comes. Yeah, I just keep putting that, just that little dab too much. I've just got no control over that glue. Right. Oh. Okay, so no sticky fingers. So I'm just going to go off camera again and we'll just get a little bit of just on this. Oh, it's probably a bit too much on there. We want to make sure that we get the edge of that. Oops, sorry, camera. Nope, glue on my fingers again. All right. Just give that a couple of seconds, just pinching that corner. And that looks quite good. Just a bit annoyed about it that I used scrap balsa on these hinges because it makes it look a bit yuck, but that'll all get covered up when we put the cover on. Okay, all right, so that is done. So you can see it looks actually looks quite straight here, which is so. With that on, once we apply the other set of glue, this is our what we call our leading edge. Now that you can see it, this is all square. Right, so once we glue this on, so this gets glued to the edge here, just like that, and then we put a nice try and put a nice edge on, which you know, I'm still pretty new to this, so I'm not sure my skills at shaping. So we have invested in a little tiny, what they call, just get it over in the background here, sorry I'm just in the camera view, It's called a razor plane. So it's just a little tiny, like a woodworker's plane, but it has like a small razor blade in there, and hopefully we can use that to half form the edge. Okay, so I'm just going to put the cap back on the glue here, and we're just going to reach in front of the camera, grab our tape. Let's put this back in the background here. I'm going to get a thick CA. Oh, jeez, it's done the same thing. Oh, well, we'll have to do that off camera, but we'll let that go. Okay, so that has actually formed quite a nice edge along here. So we're just going to put that in the background for a few minutes and let that dry. So it actually looks quite nice. Then we have our, this is what we're talking about before. These are the Aileron hinges. They're called CA hinges. So it's like a small, like a fibre. Obviously these aren't huge. These are off my ARF boomerang, but the club requires that we use plastic hinges with a hinge pin. So I thought, well, these would be actually perfect for this. So I'll show you on this one when we cut the actual hinges in. But these slide into there. It's actually pretty hard with one hand. Okay, so once we set the hinges in, and that becomes our nice. So that'll need the edge putting on, and then a final sand, and then we set the hinge, and then we'll cover it, and then glue these. We'll glue these hinges in, and is the last thing that we do. And so, yep, once we put the leading edge on and a final sand and a tidy up on each end, that'll be that one done. Okay, so we'll just put this to the side. Okay, so in the background here, we're still working on the other wing for the other side. I'm just going to pop this out because we just push this in. So we want to show you just inside here. We might actually take the camera off the stand, and we'll take you in for a little closer look. Right. Okay. Okay, so as you can see here, this is our aileron. Let's get the thing out. This little piece here is where our servo horn will go through. And as you can see, we've just cut up a couple of pieces of scrap balsa on the inside. And this will be for where the hinge can adhere to. Obviously, we've only got this front edge, and we have another false edge because this piece here will get cut off later on. So we want to make sure that the hinge has like 3 pieces of balsa to hold him in, and then we can glue him. So we've got 3 hinges: hinge 1, hinge 2, hinge 3. Okay, so this is a servo that we've been working on. So this is at the servo plate around here. Okay, and there is a lid underneath. So what we've used a couple of bits of scrap balsa, which we will epoxy to the lid, and that'll hold our servo in. So this is only like a 9-gram servo, really small, and that'll operate our ailerons. So that's it for now. So thank you very much for watching Dave Flies RC. We'll catch you in the next episode as we continue on the build of our Aeronaut Thermic electric glider. Until then, happy flying.